Are we ready to get started? Robert, are we ready? Mike, you ready to do your intro? There might be some people on virtually. We haven't started it yet.
Two says there's a couple people on there. I just can't, for some reason, it's not letting me join the link. Is it the same link or is it? Yeah, I'm getting like it's a invalid.
Robert, I think it's a new link.
Yeah, it's the CSUBUY and me, correct?
Correct.
It's different from the invite.
Let me Slack it to you so you can log in with your computer.
All right.
And
You can try to get started. I just have to.
Okay, we ready? All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending and those that are online. I'm doing the introductions. CSUBUY, let's talk a little bit about that. The procure to pay program project is a strategic, standardized process to eliminate manual steps to create efficiencies through automation, risk mitigation, and cost savings for the CSU system and our campus. CSU Bakersfield is one of 9 pilot campuses in the first wave and started working on this project over 4 years ago. The CSUBUY core team is comprised of Tu McClure at the Chancellor's office. She's in CSU procurement and she's the project manager and she will be attending this virtually. David Gee is also involved in this. He's with CSU procurement also. And he's been working on this project very hard for quite a while now. Thank you, David. David Baxter is one of the Rise Now consultants. We thank David for all his hard work with this project. Robert Parkinson, also Rise Now consultant. Thank you, Robert, for all your work and contributions to this project. And Nicholas Thielen. Did I get that right? Okay. Thank you. Another Rise Now consultant. Thank you, Rise Now consultants, for being here and helping with this project. Campus sponsor and one of the CSU sponsors is Tom Davis, the Vice President of BAS. Thank you, Tom, for all your contributions to this project and helping to keep this move forward in the CSU and at CSUB. Me, I'm Michael Chavez. I'm the Change Management Co-Lead, along with Marina Manzano, who's the Director of Procurement. I'm the Interim Associate Vice President of Business and Financial Services. Tina Livingston is the AP Lead, and she is the Interim Payment Services Manager. Felicitas Alvarado is the Supplier Lead with the Accounting Techs, AP Techs in Payment Services, and Bianca Wolgmuth, who is the Strategic Sourcing Specialist, who has been working very hard on this project. With that, I'll turn it over to Rise Now. Right?
Yep.
To me.
Okay. Two first.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you all for joining. This particular roadshow session is aimed to our supporting administrative groups on campuses. Those groups are individuals or teams that will be part of the procurement process where you all have a role in reviewing the transaction before the purchase is made. So for this particular session, we're going to provide you with some information about CSUBUY, the project itself, then go into where we're at within the project before going into a demo of the application and walking through the independent contractor process. So the groups that are on here, you have a review process. We're demoing that particular process, but the action of finding, searching, and reviewing the transaction would be the same regardless of which hat you're wearing. Then we'll talk through some training opportunities for these groups and then the go live timing for Bakersfield. So with that, let me play this video really quick. I might get some sound. So I'm going to play this video to kind of give you an overview of what P2P is, hoping that it comes through.
At the California State University, we educate, discover, and inspire every day, and that requires the right tools. But dealing with multiple interfaces, systems, and processes can mean not having what we need when we need it most. Not anymore. Introducing CSUBUY. CSUBUY will expand its functionality to include the procure-to-pay process. Procure-to-pay, or P2P, will transform the entire way we purchase goods and services, from requisition to payment and everything in between, allowing our faculty and staff to focus on more engaging and productive activities. We'll be able to sign on, shop our favorite catalogs, and choose from our frequently used account codes all in one place. From just the essentials to the advanced tools crucial to our teaching, research, and support services needs, CSUBUY is the procurement destination for everything. And no more wondering where requests are in the approval process. Requests go directly to the right approvers who can approve anytime, anywhere, and can be tracked in real time. Simple off-catalog requests for goods or services just require completion of an electronic form so we can get what we need fast and get back to what matters most: educating, discovering, and inspiring. CSUBUY is one example of how the CSU is modernizing systems and processes. Learn more at p2p.calstate.edu.
Awesome. So, hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview of Procure to Pay if this is your first introduction. So with this CSUBUY program or application, it's been around for quite some time. It started back in 2018, 2019 with sourcing and contracts for our procurement teams. Then in late 2019 timeframe, we opened it up for P-Card Marketplace, allowing our end users to log into the application and make purchases from our contracted suppliers using their P-Card. Now what we're about to embark on is phase 3, which Mike has shared earlier in his introduction. It is the implementation of a standard procurement process, allowing elimination of manual touch points, increasing efficiency through automation, risk mitigation, and hopefully cost savings for CSU. With this project, we're hoping to develop an integrated system-wide streamlined process for procurement, implement an intuitive and easy-to-use solution, create visibility to suppliers, sustainable suppliers, as well as transparency to the transaction itself, knowing where it's at, who has it, and why. Drive process efficiency through integration. So we have 8 integrations between CSUBUY and CFS, and being able to use some automation to reduce manual work and hopefully improve compliance to our policies and regulation and reduce costs for CSU as a whole. Some of the benefits of this program, I kind of highlighted some of these in the last slide. For this one, I want to draw your attention to the 3rd bullet, which is better data quality for decision-making. So with some of the reporting capabilities within the application, we'll be able to use that information and leverage our identity as CSU as a whole to negotiate pricing with our suppliers and hopefully drive that cost down for our end users. Additionally, this last bullet right here, continuous improvement of the application. What we're implementing in this first wave is just dipping our toes in the waters on what we can do with the application. Once we get the campuses live, we're hoping to continue enhancing the application to better support our teams and our end users through the procurement and settlement process. This right here shows you all a snapshot of where we're at within the project. So CSU Bakersfield is one of the 9 campuses going live in this first wave. We're about 65% through the project and are currently in the 2 work streams of roadshows and testing. So we are in the second week of our roadshows, visiting our central campuses. And then we are in the testing work stream, testing the integration between CSUBUY and CFS, and then preparing for user acceptance testing or UAT testing of the application. So some quick general updates on this project. There are currently four large buckets of work that we're focused on. The first one is preparing and conducting these roadshows. Secondly, the integration testing. So we currently have 2 integrations that we need to complete. That's supplier sync and payment status. Again, that testing is ensuring that the data is being passed between the 2 applications. The third bucket of work that's happening is preparing and conducting user acceptance testing. That's when we get our campus teams into the application and begin validating the functionality in CSUBUY, as well as doing end-to-end testing between the 2 applications. And lastly, the other bucket of work that's happening right now is the analysis of our suppliers. So between the 9 campuses, there are 18,000 suppliers. The core team has done an initial analysis of that list for CSU Bakersfield and have identified which suppliers we're recommending to be in the initial load and which one we're recommending to remove. And the campuses now have the action to identify of the ones we are recommending to remove, which one we should actually include. So that work is happening, but with the campus teams currently. With that, we concluded the background context information about CSUBUY. We're actually going to move into the demo of the application, but before we do that, I want to put a disclaimer out there in regards to what you will see. So we are demoing in the test site and do have other groups on the team in the application, either doing final configuration and or testing. So there may be things that pop up that we're not expecting. Secondly, the layout and what you see may not be the final state. It should just give you the look and feel of what it could be when we go live. And lastly, the data that you see are fake data. So they're not Bakersfield specific, but you should be able to visualize what your data, where it will be and what it will look like in the application. So a few disclaimers there. Now we're going to go into the demo. So just kind of giving you an idea of what we're going to demo today. I'm actually going to take us through some layout of the LAN, give you some information about how it looks like and what you could potentially see in the future. Then I'm going to pass it to Robert to talk through low dollar purchases as well as independent contractor. And then we'll show you what the experience will be like for you all as approvers within the process. So with that, let me stop share the PowerPoint and pull up the application. So what you see in front of you is the CSUBUY test site. This should look somewhat familiar if you all have been in P-Card Marketplace, similar layout. Right now, I'm logged in as Rocky the Requester, and Rocky the Requester is an end user on your campus. When I log in, this is a typical shopping homepage that they will land in. you will see a section here where they can do a search for the products that they would like to purchase from our catalog suppliers. Then below, you will see all of our forms that are available within the application. We're going to go through the independent contractor form for this example. Again, it should give you an idea of what it will look like based on the hat that you're wearing, on how you review and approve. And then on this bottom part right here, you will see our enabled and contracted suppliers in the future state. Additionally, on the left-hand side are the navigations to the various modules within the application. Rocky is an end user, so he has limited access to some of these modules. So here, for example, if he were to go into the accounts payable, he should be able to search for it, but not be allowed to actually process or create vouchers. Depending on your role, the options within these modules expand based on what it is that you need to do within the application. Taking you to this top right section here, this is where the search bar in particular will allow our users in this group to search for different document types. So in the new P2P world, end users submits requests to create a requisition, which then goes through the necessary approval. In this case, the groups on this call have a review process based on what it is that they're purchasing. So if you need to look for a document, you can go on the top right, type in a document number, and it will pull it up for you. Now, it will pull up the document you're searching for, as well as any associated documents to it. So in this example, I typed in the requisition, and based on that search, it also pulled the associated purchase order that was created once the requisition was completed. If there was a voucher associated to it, it will also pull that. So the system has the ability to associate all of the documents, so that way you can easily click through to the various documents based on what you need. Additionally, all of you are approvers within the process. And if you go to the flag, it should show you the documents that are assigned to you, and it gives you an idea of your workload in that particular point in time. Additionally, users are set up to receive in-app notifications, which is the screen that you see here, as well as email notifications. That will be defaulted when we go live, but you have the option to adjust that as you'd like. But the idea behind it is that if there are requisitions that you need to see or review and approve or reject out, it will display in this in-app as well as email for you, so you are aware. The next thing I want to talk through is the profile for all of our users. So each user within the application has a profile with information about them, including your contact information, which gets pulled over from CFS. Then there's also roles that you may have. But the other piece that I want to draw your attention to are the defaults. So an end user can default a chart field string for them to use. If they use it all the time, they can set it so that way when they check out, it's always there, so they don't have to select it each time. Or if they order for multiple departments, has multiple chart strings, they can add all of them as their favorites and basically create a wallet for them to toggle between the chart field strings and be able to use that. The other thing they can do as well is default their addresses. So the deliver to locations can be defaulted. So that way it eases the checkout process. Again, if they have multiple deliver to locations on campus, they can add that to their favorites and be able to toggle between those as well. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna quickly talk through low dollar purchases, which are low dollar, low risk transaction that an end user can submit. So Robert's actually gonna demo that really quickly. I'm gonna talk through it as he pulls it up. But the idea there is an end users can submit a requisition that is less than 5,000 from a catalog supplier and is for low risk. So basically commodities that does not require review from this group. So when they submit that, it will go through the workflow, get financial department approval. And after that, because it's low risk and does not need any other supporting admins to review, it will auto create a PO and bypass procurement review. On the flip side of that, when the invoice for that transaction comes in and there's no discrepancy between the invoice and the PO, and it's not for a withholding supplier, it will also go through for payment, go through for approval and payment without AP review. So that's a new process that we are introducing with P2P. And I'm going to punt it over to Robert to start demoing that. And then he'll take us through the independent contractor process so you can see what your actions are when you need to review and approve or reject a transaction.
All right, thanks, Stu. So if you were in the beginning or the last session at all, the first part of this is similar to that. So just so you're aware, then we'll go into that independent contractor form and some of the approval stuff as Stu mentioned. So just like two, I am logged in as Rocky the requester, basic requester role, limited in what I can do. First part I'm going to go ahead and start out is this shopping area that Tu had mentioned in the beginning. With the simple search, you are able to search by product, part number, supplier, or for a specific form. So just type in what you're looking for and it will bring up the results. I'll go back to that here in a moment. There is also the advanced shopping ability where in here you are able to search by category. So if I wanted to search based on furniture, I am able to do that. I'm also able to search on certain words. So if I wanted to search on, I'm going to say pens in this case, I can do that. And then if I have a specific supplier I want, I can do add that in, part number, manufacturer, commodity code. I can add all this information to help narrow down my search. There's some other options down here, excuse me, where I can search by exact phrase. So if I had an exact phrase, I can add that in. I can add in any specific words in there. So I could say big pen or red pen or something like that. And then there's the ability to do exclude words where you can exclude something from your search. So for this order, we are looking to do office supplies. So if I didn't want items by BIC, I can type in BIC and then click search. And what the search results come back with is everything without that supplier. And we could see that down here on the left side. As I scroll down, they don't give me any results by that manufacturer. So one way that can help you, again, the simple search, if I just type in pen, it'll give me a different result where I may see that, but it is still filtering out on my advanced search there. So from this screen, first thing I like to point out to everyone is look, there's over 4,000 results, tons of results to narrow down your search. Some of the things you can do, you're able to use a more descriptive term for what you're looking for. So I could say Papermate, black pens or something like that, and that will narrow those results down. But you are also able to use these product flags on the left side that I'm scrolling up and down on now. So if you had a certain item that you were looking for that may be recycled, such as like recycled paper or something like that, you can click on that and it will begin to narrow down your results for those items. If you had a specific supplier you're looking for, you can select that supplier. And I'm going to select Staples. And what you're going to see as this goes, it actually lowered the search results by more than half. So there's dropped it down to over 2,000. So what you would see as I continue to go through this, able to select the category. I always like to bring this one up because it allows you to say, well, in this case, I don't want ink refills, so I can limit that and say, I just want ballpoint pens. And as I click that, it's going to give me 700 43 different results. So a bunch of different filters that you can use to narrow it down. And as I mentioned, you have your PaperMate and different manufacturers there. From this screen though, in the center with all the images, so any product that has an image, it will be displayed to you there. So these ones have an image, but on the far right there where it says Corporate Express, that one does not have an image. So what you'll typically see is it's the supplier logo or some generic logo that came in with that hosted catalog. On this screen, you will see the image. You'll get a description, some details about the supplier name, part number, and from this window, I'm also able to update my quantity, and I can add this directly to my cart. So you'll get this success message that I added the first item to my cart. And from here, if I was done shopping, I can go ahead, view my cart, go directly to checkout, kind of like that Amazon experience that you see when you shop on Amazon. If I needed to continue shopping, I can continue to do so. If I had some other pens or something that I wanted to add, I can continue to do that. I'll use this one that's marked Corporate Express, and I can just add that to my cart as well. The idea is this is to make it faster to do your shopping, where you don't have to like place something in your cart, come back and continue to do that. You are also able to do a new search from this page. So if I was in the search menu, I can type in paper and add it directly to my cart if it gives me a suggestion, or I can go search for all results for paper as well, and kind of begin that process again. If I am on this page and I wanted some additional details about this product, I am able to click on it, and it's going to open up a new window for me where it will give me some additional information like the supplier size, how many there are in the package. They'll give me the unit of measure. So this one shows it's a dozen. And then I can see things like the manufacturer, the category. You wanted to see the material safety data sheet that's in here as well. So a lot of different information. I would also see any product flags. I joke about this one because it's a pen and it's labeled as hazardous, but it's a test site, so we're messing around with some of the configurations, but you would see those there if you search based on that. And that's kind of what drives that narrowing down how you filter. You can add it directly from the cart to the cart from this area as well and update the quantity. And then the other thing I always mention is this add to favorite. So with this, you can create a personal list of items. So if you are whatever department you are in, if in my example, I'm doing office supplies, if I'm always ordering office supplies and I buy this item constantly, I can create a favorites list and keep that. So next time I go to buy this item or these products, I am able to quickly go to that favorites list and add it directly to my cart. You are also able to create a shared favorites where I can share this to different people, maybe within my department, and get some additional items from those people. So I could say, if this is office supplies, hey team, I need you guys to input some items to this. You can share that with them. So a little bit of collaboration there helps speed up the buying process again. You can also access that favorite directly on an item as well in the upper right-hand corner of that item. So one other way that I often show how to sort is where it shows best match here in the upper right corner. You are able to click on this and you can sort based on different things like the description, part number. The most common one whenever anybody shops is always they want to search by price, lowest to highest. So you can click that and it will sort those out for you, low to high. So I'm happy with this order. I'm ready to go ahead and check out with this one. So it's as simple as coming up to the upper right, going to that price of what my cart is so far. I'm going to click on that. And what it's going to do is show me my top 5 items in my cart with a brief description, the quantity, price of those items. And then if you have any additional items, it will show you the tell you how many are there. So this one actually has 5 additional items. If I decide I don't want a product, it's as simple as just clicking on the trash can and it'll take it out of my cart and it automatically updates the pricing for me. I can go view my cart from here. And when I get to the screen, again, there's our simple search and our advanced search if we needed to add anything else. If we just remembered, oh, I forgot a stapler or something like that. The cart name, I always recommend naming this something unique to what you're buying. So in the future, you're able to go back and look at your items. The system automatically generates a name and its username and date. So it'd be, in this case, it would be our requester and 2/14/23. So generic doesn't help you. Recommend putting something in there. So find those. As two mentioned, this deliver to location is one of those fields that defaults out of your user profile. If you have the ability to shop for multiple business units, you are able to click in here, and any deliver to locations that are available to you, you are able to select from those. So if I want to select this arts and humanities one, the last one on my list here, I can select that, and this will carry over to the completion of the requisition to the purchase order as well. But again, the one that is defaulted into your profile will always be the one that starts your requisition out. On this page, as I scroll down, some of the things I am presented with, I have an overview of how many items there are. I can see how many are in this order for Granger. I'm able to update my quantity. If I needed to remove this line from my order, I'm able to just go ahead and do that here. If I wanted to update the commodity code, I am able to do that. And then as I scroll down, if you notice here in this part, there's no contract listed with this first line. But as I continue down past gray bar into my staples order, you see that there's actually a contract listed on this one. So if there's any contracts related to a supplier, you're able to click in there and select a contract for that order. So if you needed to tie that in there, you're able to do that as well. One thing I want to note is this is one requisition that I'm putting together. So every purchase order in CSUBUY begins as a requisition. The system allows you to create one requisition for multiple suppliers. So in this requisition, I have Granger, I have my gray bar portion of the order, and then I have my staples order. So what happens is, and I'll show this a little bit here in a moment, but when I click submit and this goes through the approvals, when it hits that create PO step, this will actually be broken into 3 separate purchase orders or however many suppliers are in there. So what I mean by that is Staples will get a purchase order with only their information. Gray bar will get one for only their information, and same with Granger. So again, it's designed to help you place an order as quickly as possible by allowing you to do one requisition for many suppliers at once. So I'm happy with this order. I'm going to go ahead and proceed to my checkout. On this new screen, some of the information defaults just based on your user profile. So my ship to, I have a default shipping. It does default in for me. So if I wanted to edit that, I can click on this pencil and then click on my different addresses that are available to me. And then I could save that, and that would reflect here instead. A lot of the information carries over to this from the last window, and we'll carry over the purchase order as I mentioned. Quickly, I like to point out this area that says accounting codes. These are your chart fields. So these can be defaulted again in your user profile. So if you have a set of chart fields that you commonly use, you can default these in your profile. So on any new requisition, you can start it with these. Of course, if they're incorrect for this order, you are able to come in here, click edit, and you can update these as needed. So you will only see the chart fields that belong to you. So you can't just select, in this case, I'm with Chico. In this, Rocky's in this Chico business unit, I couldn't go selecting Bakersfield. So you wouldn't have to worry about those types of situations. You are also able to add a split if needed, as many splits as you need to. So you can see there, it's splitting this out based on percentage of price. You are also able to split it based on amount of price. As we look at this, if this was an order and I wanted this chart field to apply to all other lines, I am able to quickly copy this to other lines instead of having to input these one by one manually. So I could just click on the ones. It's going to base it based on supplier initially. So it's not going to select everything, but I am able to select different ones as well. So you can see I can select just random ones, and then that will carry it down to those lines. If you did need to do this based on the line, I am able to come down and to the line items. You can note Granger here. I'll skip Granger because they only have one line and come down to Staples. But when I come down to Staples, I am able to click on the pencil and edit these. Again, able to do the splits just like you were able to do at the other header level, as we call that area, and then change the distribution as needed. So just like with the other header field, you are able to copy these down to all other lines. So if I click on the Staples, it will copy them to every single line for me. But if I didn't want that, again, I can just click on the individual ones and handle it for me. So another feature of trying to speed up your buying process. Before I go ahead and submit this order, a couple things I just like to point out is the tabs across the top. So there are some taxes, shipping and handling, whatever's estimated can be added here. You can preview the purchase order. We have an area for comments that I'll touch on here in a second. You are able to add attachments. So if you needed to add an internal attachment or an attachment to the supplier, you can add that here and that will be sent over to the supplier with this. You have a history tab. So anything that you do in this order, you will have a history of it. So you can see even just a few moments ago, I removed a line. So it did show that in the history. So anything you do will have a history of it. So for tracking. In the comments section, always recommend this if you need to leave a note to an approver. This is a feature that's on the purchase order and vouchers as well. This allows you to eliminate some of that back and forth through emails, maybe picking up the phone so you can track, say, hey, what's, a requester can leave a comment. What's the status of my order? Oh, the response back can be it's on hold. We're waiting some additional details from a supplier or something like that. So really simple to do. You just click the plus sign. You can add your comment. Just like with the attachments page, you can add a file. And then there's also the ability to add a link if you needed to direct somebody to a certain site to view it. Once the comment is created, it does send a notification and an email to that person, letting them know that there's a comment. And then they are able to come inside the system and respond directly to that comment. So it'll keep a history of the comments as well. And you can also view any comments in this history tab. So this history tab will, again, keep track of it. So when I'm ready to check out, I can click on this submit order button. And what's going to happen, I'm not going to click that for this portion, but what it will actually do at that time is it's going to start going through the approval process. And the first part of any approval is going to always be this requisition validation step. What this does is it's a call out to PeopleSoft CFS to check some important information about the order. So the first one is it's going to check the user, make sure that they're an actual user in the system. It's going to check their business unit, make sure they're allowed to make purchases for that business unit, making sure there wasn't something that came up there. And then it's also going to check the chart fields. So it's going to check one, that the chart fields are valid, but it's also going to check the combo edits to make sure that, in the world that people will just click on the different chart fields trying to get it to go through so they can submit their order and somebody else's problem, right? So it's going to validate those. And if it finds a scenario where they're not valid, it's actually going to return it back to that person in this draft status. And it will give them a reason why it was returned to them in the history for them to make those updates, and they will need to resubmit it. So not going to let something go out to the supplier, something go out to CFS with some incorrect information. For this low dollar PO though, once that passes that validation step, it will hit a DOA approval. That's the only manual step required for this. And then an additional step that will occur is what we call robots. It's going to do a check, an OFAC check, just to make sure that the supplier is not on any sanction lists. As long as nothing comes back, there's no action needed. It's going to allow it to go through to the requisition validation 2 steps. We put those in there in case, something changes in between the time it was submitted to the time it's ready to go out and create the POs to double check, just make sure nothing's invalid anymore. And then the last step before finishing it is this create PO step where in this scenario, 3 suppliers on this order, it's going to break it out into 3 separate purchase orders. So That is the low dollar, low purchase order process with some additional shopping features along the way. Two, is there anything you would like to add before I move on to the contractor request?
The only thing I wanted to add is that all the features that Robert has shared in regards to comments and things like that are features that this user group, the supporting admins, can utilize during the review process. So the other thing I want to add is that the workflow that Robert talked through on the right-hand side right there, depending on what the end user purchase, more than likely the things that will land for your review is when they use the form. And when they use the form and or how they answer the questions on the form, that's when it will trigger the workflow to include your review. So Robert, if we could hop over to independent contractor, that will give them an idea of how that happens and what their approver process looks like.
All right. So as Stu mentioned in the beginning, the different forms can be found here on the shopping homepage in the showcases. We do have the independent contractor form, so I'm going to click into this as, again, I'm acting as Rocky requester, basic requester role. Excuse me. The first step of this, I have one prepared. I just wanted to walk you through a little portion of this. Is anytime you access a form, there's going to be instructions. So these instructions could give some notes. Sometimes it'll give you information if you're trying to do this. For instance, you're trying to do an IT request on like a general goods and service form. It'll direct you to the IT form instead. So just something to be aware of. And then it gives like the note that it has to be confirmed by HR before any work is done. Just some general notes. The next step is to select a supplier. You can search directly for a supplier, or you're able to just click the search button and see all the suppliers that are available in your business unit. Once I select the supplier, it's just the continuing through. So first part of it is the request details. Anything marked with an asterisk is required. It won't let you proceed through without it. So you'll see if I click save, it's not even going to let me save it. It's going to throw a bunch of red information at me and tell me these are all your errors to fix. As I move down this form, big part I wanted to show you here is this sole source may not necessarily apply to this form, but wanted to show you this part of how all the forms are built with some logic built into them. So depending on how you answer the questions will drive additional questions. So if I select yes on sole source, you could see it added some additional questions that I'm required because they have the asterisk that I have to fill out. So big part of that is really to show you that feature of having to go through those different items, and depending on how you click on it, depending on how you answer it, requires additional question. I'm going to just skip forward, and then you can see some of the additional information from this form. So the goal of these forms, just so everybody's aware, is not necessarily to give all the information to submit this independent contractor request. What it is done is to eliminate. We worked with some of the teams to find out the questions that they need to proceed with these. And this is going to give them as much detail as possible to eliminate a lot of that back and forth, not having to email, call, and have a lot of conversation. So that's the goal of these different forms. So you can see with this form, I jumped over to Rocky Requester. He did submit the independent contractor review form. In the upper left, you can see it is pending, and it will let you know what step it's in. So this one is in the independent contractor review step, and it will tell you who it's pending with. So this one is pending with me as the approver in this one for this demo. On the right side here, you'll notice that it is pending. I did submit it. So once you submit a requisition, it will change over to this pending. You are also able to scroll down and see here in the independent contractor review step that it is being held in the step with me as well. So a couple ways you can find that information. If there was a question about the status of this, why hasn't it been approved? We always recommend utilizing this comment feature as well. That was kind of what I was mentioning with that. So if I wanted to find out that, you can do it here within this requisition, and it'll keep that history for you. The other item I wanted to touch on with this part is, as a approver or a requester that submitted this, if you wanted to go back and review this form, or if you're on the approval side and you needed to review this form, you are able to come in here. You will be given some information about the form as far as the supplier, the fulfillment. You can see some of the item details as well that carry over. But if you wanted to see the way that the form was filled out, you are able to click on that independent contractor request. And what's going to happen is it's going to take you to that form. So as an approver, I can come in and review the way the answers were submitted. And if something needed to be changed, some additional information, it can be returned to the requester to make updates. So a big part of that is showing you how you create the form based on the form. When you submit that, it goes into a requisition. The requisition goes through approvals depending on which form it is, how you answer the questions. So this being that independent contractor form is what triggered the independent contractor review. And then if there were some additional things, as you see in this one, there could be some additional procurement review steps as well. So that was the big part of this. Anything you want to add to?
I think if you can quickly show where they would either reject, review, approve the transaction.
Okay. So I'm going to switch over. I am the reviewer on this. So just like kind of two showed, I copied my requisition number. I'm just going to search and it's going to give me that requisition. So I am now acting as me, Robert. I am the approver for this step in the demo. So I can see all the same information that Rocky sees. I can see, the status. I can review the chart fields. I can also review the item information. And just like Rocky, I can come in here and review that information on how it was set up. If I was ready to take action on this, I am able to see on the right side, it is in this step and it's with me. So a couple things I can do. I can come up here and just click on this button and it will approve it out of this step and send it to that OFAC check to continue on through the approval process. I am also able to return this to a shared folder. So where we commonly see this is there's a department that has different approvals based on department ID. So it could be like one shared folder based on department IDs. So if it's in that situation where multiple people can go in and grab those requisitions and approve them, if you're not the right person for that, you can just return that to the shared folder. You could place this on hold if there's some reason you want to hold on to this. You don't want to continue processing this. Commonly, we see this if something requires sourcing. If you needed the requester to make some changes to this, you are able to return this to the requester, give them some information about it in the comments and say what the reason you're returning it. And then when they make those changes, they would resubmit that through approvals again. So when they resubmit it, it does have to go back through every step again. If I'm not the right person to take action on this, or maybe there's a scenario where I want somebody else to look at it and approve it instead, I can use this forward to button and put in who the next person I want to look at this is, and it will send them a notification and email to do the approval. And then of course, if needed, you can just outright reject this requisition as well. So we always say if you want the requester to make changes and then resubmit it, use the return to requisitioner button. But if you need to outright reject it, use that, because the return to requester requisitioner button allows you to not have to recreate from scratch. So that's the idea, where the reject requisition makes them resubmit it from scratch. Anything else too?
Nope, I think that covers it. So I'm gonna hold questions really quick so we could talk through training, and then we can open the floor for questions. So I'll take back the share screen. So in regards to training, we do have the change management team building out a very robust training program where we will provide our user groups with the necessary materials and resources to function in the new world. So really helping you all transition from the old way of doing things to the new way of doing things, giving you the resources that you need for the various hats you wear within the process, and then hopefully leaving you all with resources and training in place after the implementation, so that way you can continue your learning. There are a couple of components that I want to share in regards to the training program. First is that we have a 5 to 10 subject matter experts from our campuses working to review the training outlines for the various user groups. So the goal there is that the campus SMEs would review the outlines, confirm that it is comprehensive, and sign off on the outlines before the Rise Now instructional team actually creates the training material itself. So CSU really has a say in ensuring that it is comprehensive and that the materials we're training on will help the end user or the various user groups conduct their business in the future state. Secondly, within the training program, we will have a train the trainer program. What that means is each of the campuses have identified at least one resources, maybe more, to go through a train the trainer series. That individual will go through the training to be able to help facilitate the trainings for our user groups, providing insights on your campus business process, as well as serving as a subject matter expert, a local subject matter expert on your campus post go live. So that training for those individuals will start in the June timeframe. What you see here is the training experience for the supporting admin groups. So the introduction of the training program during these roadshows. The next milestone in that experience is the virtual training for you all to learn how to access, review, and approve transactions. Additionally, after go live, there are 2 milestones there for you all to get support. The first one is a campus-led Q&A session on a weekly basis, about 30 to 60 minutes, kind of like an office hours. And then the core team will be available during hypercare, which is a 4 to 6 week time frame where users can ask questions for us to answer and or mitigate any issues that come up. And then post hypercare will be long-term support, where we'll transition you to the P2P support help desk, so that way they can answer any issues or questions moving forward. And of course, leaving that resource behind for you all to continue your learning post go live. This gives you a schedule view of what I talked through. So 4 weeks before, some go live readiness activities and communication. Training happening 2 weeks before go live to ensure that it is fresh on your mind when we go live. But training really happens when users are in the application, which is why we have this large dedicated hypercare time before we actually transition you to long-term support. What you see in front of you is the go live schedule. So Bakersfield is part of group number 2, which is slated for the August timeframe. This is the goal we're striving to. However, there are some CFS configuration activities that we need to work through in preparation for user acceptance testing that may impact the schedule, but we're working through that right now, and we'll communicate that if things change, but this is our goal currently to strive for. So with that, I'm going to open the floor for some Q&A from our supporting admin groups.
Any questions at all? All right, doesn't look like there's any questions too.
Yeah,
We'll add that if anything comes up, if something pops in your mind, there is a Q&A session a little later today, a town hall, excuse me, where you can bring those questions. So appreciate your time today. there's nothing out there.
Yeah, I don't see any on chat either.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
Thank you very much.